Welcome to Life is for Living. I'm here with David Riddell. Hi, David.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Tonight, I'd like to talk about respect and what is respect, because I'm sure a lot of people are confused about this, what it is.
I like this old saying that in life we move away from people who don't rate us, don't value us, don't respect us, and we always move towards people who do value us, who do rate us, and who show it by their respect. And I
Mhm.
think that you can describe respect as what happens when love puts its boots on. Do you like that, Kylie?
I do like that.
When love puts its boots on, when love hits the road, it looks like respect.
Hmm.
So the next question is, well, what does respect look like? And I've asked that question of so many couples over the years of marriage counselling. I don't feel respected. She doesn't respect me. He doesn't respect me. I said, when you are being respected, what does that actually look like? I know you feel good and I know you feel cared for and I know you feel valued, but when you are being respected, what does it actually look like? And you know the reason I ask that is because many people come from a family of origin, their childhood family,
Hmm.
where respect wasn't actually practiced. And to my horror, I have found that many people do not actually know what respect looks like when it's manifesting in a marriage.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
uh, and it's some people say it's tone of voice. Yes, it's certainly tone of voice. Some people say it's standing back when the two of you compete for the same doorway. Yes, that's fine too. For others, it's being on time, being where you say you're going to be when you say you're going to be there.
Hmm.
And that's all true. It's just that what I found was they couldn't come up with more than one or two of those per person. And yet respect is literally dozens of things to us each day.
Hmm. It
You
is.
know, nobody's watching more carefully than the mother of the young girl who's brought her boyfriend home for dinner for the first time. And mum is super sensitive to whether or not that boy is showing his daughter any respect.
Hmm.
And he's only got to blow it once, and he's in the bad books because if his family showed respect in a different way to the way hers show it, there's going to be misunderstandings and misjudgments, aren't there?
Yes, that's true. Well, this is what it looks like according to your manual that you have here.
Is
It's
that the
listening,
poster?
it is.
Yeah.
Listening to another's appeal or proposition without over talking or intimidation.
I'll just wait for you to finish before I interrupt then.
Good idea.
Well, you'd be amazed at how many couples overtalk each other and they have no idea they're even doing it. It's been a habit, it's been normalized, it's been the way their parents related to each other, it's been the way the whole family related to each other. For them, overtalking is as normal as breathing. They're not aware they're doing it. Interrupting is part of their conversational style
Mhm.
and nobody takes offense at it until they go into their spouse's partner's family and suddenly discover they are considered highly rude and highly disrespectful, and they get the shock of their lives.
Yeah.
Family mottos decide whether something's respectful or not. And some people will say, well, I don't mind interrupting him. I interrupt him all the time. I know that, but I never ever yell at him. That would be disrespectful.
I think it's important to wait because you can learn something from what one is saying. Listen to the pearl in the heart of what somebody is saying and wait. And then you can speak and answer back to that. But if we're always interrupting, we're always just thinking about what we need to say, and you miss the whole point sometimes for what they're trying to say.
My sense of humour says, interrupter, go on, I dare you, interrupter.
Well, you didn't. You waited.
I bit my tongue. Can you see the marks? But you'd be interested to note that when I call people on interrupting in the counselling session or in life in general, and I say, why did you need to do that? Why could you not wait till they had finished? And the reply I often get is, because I'll forget what I was going to say. So I have to jump in while I can remember my point. It's very common to hear that.
Yeah. Well, then you buy them a little notepad and a pen for the next birthday.
Just a minute, I'll write that down.
I remember actually being in a debate with somebody, and they went on and on and on and on and on, and I just sat there. And then they stopped and they said, well, aren't you going to say something? And I said, I'm waiting to see if I can learn something. I'm wondering if there's something coming from there and I don't think that actually went down very well. But I actually was. I was thinking, yeah, I get that. I know that. You've said that 10 times. Anyway.
Now look what happens in a family where nobody ever finishes what they were saying. They only stop when they're interrupted. That can be a pattern. And people simply wait to be interrupted before they stop talking. And occasionally I get someone who says, why aren't you interrupting? I'm still talking, but I don't have anything left to say. I say, well, you could just stop talking. And they'll say, well, we never did that in our family. Nobody ever stopped. They just got cut off.
Wow. Family cultures. Okay, here's another good one. This is a biggie. Telling the truth, no matter how it's going to be received. That is respect, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because once you start censoring the truth, censoring your perspective, censoring your opinion, or just telling them what you think they can cope with and what you think they can handle, well, the problem with that is they're not getting the whole story from you. And the problem with that is that you're now playing both ends of the court. The problem with that is that it's actually manipulative. You are now manipulating them by telling them only what you think they can cope with and what you think they can bear. And maybe you're right. Maybe they will get angry. Maybe they will take offense. Maybe you'll have to sleep on the couch that night. But the question is, are you actually being honest with them? Don't they deserve the truth? Don't they deserve to know how you really feel? Why are you taking care of both ends of the conversation? And part of that is the anticipation of how they will react. You know they're going to freeze you out. You know they're going to punish you. You know they're going to feel hurt and they're going to feel abandoned and rejected and criticized. But you have to know all that and still be honest with them. And that's one of the hardest things in a relationship, and it's one of the main reasons why intimacy dies. And what I mean by that is that intimacy is only as good as the honesty, right? But the honesty is only as good as your fear of their reaction if you are honest with them. So the first step to restore intimacy in an estranged relationship is to coach these two to actually get honest with each other, but to do it kindly, to do it with grace, to do it gently, and to do it knowing they may react very badly and letting that be. Sometimes you've just got to be straight up and let all the poisons that are in the mud hatch out. And that's the turning point where you start to come back to intimacy.
And then the fear will go.
Yeah, well, you find that it's only pride that causes people to take offense at an honest opinion honestly put anyway. It's pride that breaks marriages. It's pride that silences communication. It's hurt pride and thin-skinned offense taking that alienates people.
Mhm.
And we've got to get bigger than that. We've got to grow past that if we want our relationships to actually mature.
Yeah. And it's also self-respect, not allowing yourself to be drowned out by others and circumstances, and actually having a respect of who you are and your value as well. In a not in an arrogant way, but in an honest way.
I remember in the early days of our courting, my wife must have been disrespectful or slinging off at me or having a joke. I just looked at her and I said, I don't think about myself like that. If I did, my mind would be working against me. So I don't expect you to talk to me like that either. And it pulled her up because it was a trait she had picked up and she needed to let it go. It wasn't teasing, it wasn't funny. And sometimes men, particularly, have a sense of humor that means that while they're intending just to pull somebody's leg or take the mickey, they actually end up hurting the person,
Mm.
particularly, if they're addressing someone who holds them in higher esteem or gives them a lot of status. We often aren't aware that we've been given so much status that our every word is being weighed and taken personally. And if that's the case, we're going to hurt somebody if we're just teasing them good naturedly.
Yeah, that's something to consider. Encouraging when encouragement is called for. That's respectful.
Well, a man has an ability to affirm a woman, to validate a woman, to encourage a woman with his love language. Uh, he has the ability to help her to feel good about herself and to validate her, and vice versa. So when my wife encourages me, particularly if she sees something good that I can't, then we really do appreciate each other and we've got each other's back and we change the focus. If you're doing a bit of a self beat up, there's nothing like somebody paying you a compliment to antidote a lot of that nonsense, is there?
Hmm.
So
What
when a
is right?
compliment is due, pay it.
Yeah, yeah, because it just builds somebody up, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I mean, we've got so many of these actually. We probably can't get through them all in the session, but
My wife gave me a fish pie for tea tonight. It was delicious. So I paid her a compliment. I said that was a beautiful fish pie, darling. And she said, "Oh, I just dropped it out of a box and heated it." And
oh,
I said, "Well, it was heated immaculately."
oh, funny, very good. Say no to shouting, yelling, raised voices, and demeaning put downs. Yeah, that's quite.
Yeah. Oh, well, as soon as people start shouting each other, all respect jumps out the window, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As soon as people yell at each other, then you feel like you're a dog being yelled at, or you feel like they consider you too thick to understand, or you just feel bullied and dominated. I think of yelling as verbal violence.
Mm,
Whether it's yelling or whether it's swearing, it's disrespectful. And the first one to start swearing or start yelling is always the more disrespectful of the two.
mm,
And here's the thing, as I said at the beginning, we move away from people who disrespect us. You can't help it, you can't stop it. Jesus said, love your enemies. But I
mm.
find that when people disrespect me, I just want to have less and less to do with them.
Yep. Yes. Okay, some other really good ones here. Showing regard for others' ideas as they, like we, struggle to develop them.
You can't just wait until somebody's ideas are perfectly honed or superior or well informed. kids are struggling to form their ideas, teenagers are struggling to form their ideas, and adults are still struggling to form their ideas. So you never rubbish somebody for their ideas. You might want to point out an inconsistency. You might want to point out where that idea is going to take them, that they don't want to go. Uh,
Yeah.
but understand that all of us here are struggling to get the right idea about reality.
Mhm.
And the man isn't born yet that came straight into reality and never got it wrong.
True. That's true. You know, yeah. I was going to say that, sometimes we don't succeed at things, and that's part of learning too. We don't always have to be successful at everything. Sometimes there are failures. And
Well,
show,
as we said in a former interview, a failure, um, God considers failure as merely feedback. It's the devil that thinks of failure as taking it all personally and self-condemnation.
mm,
So I've learnt to welcome failure and listen to its message. What is the message failure has come to bring me? If I don't read that message and take it to heart, then I really am failing.
yes, that's right. That's right. Okay, kind words spoken out loud whenever the opportunity arises. Um, that's self-explanatory. Admiring good qualities and all efforts, so helpful to the family cause. That's self-explanatory, really. Never using past mistakes of others as ammunition against them, nor as justification for condemnation, but only as needed to expose a problem.
Well, you've heard the phrase, may the best man win. What about the one with the best memory of past faults and mistakes made win? Sometimes I've said to my own wife, darling, of course I don't remember my faults. There's no point in two people remembering exactly the same thing. In other words, I'm not going to collect up a long memory of mistakes and faults because it's only me looking for ammunition so I can prove that I'm superior to you or that you're inferior to me or that you really are functioning in an inadequate fashion. I don't need to have an arsenal
Yeah.
um, of bullets to fire at you in order to do that stuff. It's not what I'm here for. That's the tactics of a narcissistic disorder or a crazy maker. We don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Let's stay with the present and stay in the present and remember that the problem is the problem,
Hmm.
not last year's problem or what you said on our honeymoon or what your parents said. Let's just stay in today.
Yeah, it's important. It's very, very important. Yeah. Respecting ownership and taking due care of others' property as you would your own. Like if you break something, fix it and return it as if it was better than what it was when you had it. These are things that my mother brought me up with, but I notice in the younger generation, this is something that does lack.
I remember loaning my chainsaw out and doing it with some trepidation. Do you know, it came back in a box in bits. And I did say to a mate who, when I borrowed his chainsaw, I just said, I just hope I don't break it. And he said, oh, no, that's okay. You can break it. Just make sure that before it comes back, it gets unbroken.
True. Giving the necessary space to the one who is already overwhelmed and in all out reaction to the troubles.
Well, when a child is really upset, that's not the time for a lesson in ethics or protocols or politeness. When an adult man or woman is really in a panic or really in a rage, that is not the time to corner them, to trump them, to teach them a lesson. You better back off, you better let them cool down, and you better stay away until things are calmer and more rational. Because when people are in a panic, it's not the time to push. That can result in violence. It can result in words said that can never, ever, ever be unsaid.
Mm.
That can result in making a mistake that you'll only regret once, and that's forever. So back off, calm down, leave it for a while, go back to your corner, have a think, have a sleep and have a cup of tea and a lie down or something, just to get out of that panic reaction and start thinking again.
Yeah. Well, there's some really good points in there, and that's not all of them. And that's part of David Riddell's Respect module that he has, which you learn when you're doing the course.
Yeah,
there are pearls in there.
We can send that poster out to anybody who wants to make an email request. We can send an electronic copy out. No charge for that. Just ask for the Respect poster and send your request to office@livingwisdom.co.nz.
And what I do is I actually have one that I put on my toilet door. So when the children are at home, they can read it. And
if you don't see it regularly, Kylie, see your doctor.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, that's another great session of Life is for Living with David Riddell. Thanks, guys.